One ant scout finds your kitchen. Within 48 hours, 10,000 ants follow the same chemical trail. Within 72 hours, your counter is covered. Most people grab raids. That makes it worse. There is a $2 bait that reverses the entire process. Here is exactly how it works. Scout system. That first ant you see is not lost. She is working. A scout ant from a nearby colony enters your kitchen, follows those heat and food odor, and when she finds something, she does not eat it there. She lays a chemical trail called a pheromone line all the way back to the nest. Every ant that follows that line reinforces it. Within 24 hours, you do not have one ant. You have a highway. The scout created it in under 10 minutes. Raid problem. Most people see that highway and reach for the spray. Raid kills the ants you see. That part is true. But here is what the label does not tell you. The active ingredient in Raid is a pyrethroid. Pyrethroids do not just kill insects. At low concentrations, they repel them. When you spray a trail, the surviving ants detect the chemical residue and scatter. They do not go back to the nest. They move deeper into your walls, your cabinets, your baseboards. One colony becomes 3. The University of Florida stated it directly in their cockroach management guide. And the same principle applies to ants. Liquid insecticides scatter colonies. Scattered colonies are harder to eliminate. Every can of Raid you spray is making the problem bigger. Orkin model. Here is what happens when you call Orkin. A technician arrives. He sprays a pyrethroid along your baseboards, around your entry points, maybe outside along the foundation. The visit takes about 20 minutes. He schedules the next one for 3 weeks later. That spray costs Orkin roughly $4 in chemical. You pay between $80 and $120 per visit. A standard ant control contract runs $300 to $400 per year. And here is the part that should make you uncomfortable. Orkin knows that pyrethroid sprays scatter ant colonies. Every university entomology department publishes this. The industry reads the same research. They spray anyway because a scattered colony comes back. A colony that comes back needs another visit. Another visit means another payment. The spray does not solve the problem. It maintains it. That is not pest control. That is a subscription to your kitchen. Boric acid origin. Boric acid is not a chemical invention. It is a mineral. It occurs naturally in volcanic regions, dry lake beds, and hot springs across the world. The ancient Egyptians used boron compounds for embalming. Medieval physicians used boric acid as an antiseptic. By the early 1700s, Dutch chemist Wilhelm Homberg had isolated it from volcanic steam vents in Tuscany. It has been continuously documented since 1702. For over 150 years, farmers, households, and early pest control workers used boric acid as a primary insect control method. It worked then. It works now. The mechanism has never changed because boric acid does not target a single nerve receptor the way synthetic chemicals do. It destroys the insect's midgut lining and disrupts enzyme function across multiple biological systems simultaneously. You cannot evolve resistance to a multi-system breakdown. Documented resistance to boric acid does not exist in 150 years of recorded use. Not one study. That is the compound the industry stopped recommending the moment they found something they could sell every month. Cascade proof in 2001. Researchers Buchkowski, Kopanik, and Schall at North Carolina State University published a study in the Journal of Economic Entomology. They tested boric acid bait transfer through German cockroach colonies. The mechanism they documented applies identically to ants. One bait-fed insect returned to the colony, and the poison spread through 3 separate biological routes. The first route is coprophagy. Insects consume each other's feces as a food source. When a forager eats boric acid bait and returns to the nest, its feces become toxic. Colony members feeding on those feces die. The second route is necrophagy. Insects consume dead colony members. A forager that dies from the bait becomes a toxic meal for nestmates. Those nestmates die. Their bodies poison the next wave. The third route is trophallaxis, which is the direct transfer of food and liquid between colony members mouth to mouth. A poisoned ant shares food with nestmates during normal colony feeding. The poison transfers directly. In Purdue University follow-up research, scientists documented 3 levels of transfer: primary, secondary, and tertiary. One bait-fed ant triggered a chain reaction that spread through the entire colony. NC State's 2-year field trial across multiple buildings showed 90 to 99% colony reduction using boric acid bait, not individual kill, colony elimination. That is the science Orkin never mentions. Complete system. Here is exactly what to do. 3 ingredients. Write this down. Harris boric acid powder, 16 ounces, available at Home Depot for between $5 and $8. One bag makes dozens of batches. White granulated sugar, which you already have. Cotton balls, 1 bag from any pharmacy for about $2. Total cost per batch is under $2. Step 1. Mix the bait. Combine 1 teaspoon of boric acid powder with 1 cup of warm water and 3 tablespoons of sugar. Stir until completely dissolved. The water should run clear. That ratio produces a 1.6% solution. North Carolina State researchers, Gore and Shaw, tested concentrations from 0.5 to 2% and found that every concentration in that range produced rapid and effective colony kill. Above 2%, ants detect the poison and refuse to feed. Stay at 1.6%. Step 2. Prepare the stations. Soak cotton balls in the solution and place each one inside a bottle cap or shallow plastic lid. You want shallow. Ants need to reach the liquid without drowning. Step 3. Place them correctly. Ants forage within 6 feet of their harborage. Place stations inside lower kitchen cabinets, under the kitchen sink, behind the refrigerator, behind the dishwasher, along any wall where you have seen a trail, and near any exterior door. Follow the trail. Place the bait directly on the pheromone line. The scout trail brings foragers straight to your station. Step 4. Do not spray. This is the most critical rule. No raid, no ortho, no aerosol near the bait. Pyrethroid residue within 3 feet of a bait station repels ants from feeding. The horizontal transfer chain never starts. The colony survives. If you have already sprayed, wipe every surface near the bait placement with dish soap and water before setting your first station. Remove the repellent residue completely. Step 5. Replace every 5 to 7 days. The sugar ferments. The cotton dries. Fresh bait keeps foragers feeding and carrying poison back to the nest. The timeline looks like this. Day 1 to 3, foragers find the bait. You may see more ants at first. That is normal. They are feeding. Day 3 to 7, first foragers die. Fecal transfer begins killing colony members who never touch the bait. Day 7 to 14, visible trail activity drops sharply. Day 14, colony elimination. 3 mistakes. The first mistake is spraying before or during bait placement. 1 application of pyrethroid spray near your bait stations cancels 2 weeks of transfer work. The ants avoid the station. The cascade never starts. If you have raid in your hand right now, put it down. This is the mistake most people make within the first 24 hours because they see more ants feeding at the station and assume the bait is not working. It is working. Those ants are carrying poison back to the nest. The moment you spray, you end the transfer chain. The foragers that survive scatter deeper into your walls. The colony detects the pyrethroid as a threat, and the queen increases egg production in response. You do not just lose 2 weeks of progress. You make the infestation structurally worse. If you have already sprayed recently, wait 4 to 5 days before placing bait stations. The residue needs time to break down. Wipe every surface near your intended placement with dish soap and warm water. Rinse it completely, then set your stations. Not before. The second mistake is wrong placement. Bait placed in the middle of a cabinet shelf where ants do not travel will sit untouched. Follow the visible trail. Place the station directly on the pheromone line. If you cannot find a trail, place stations in every dark, damp location near a food source. Under the sink is where most indoor ant colonies forage first. Behind the refrigerator is the second most common location. The refrigerator motor generates heat and condensation. Ants are drawn to both. Most people never check behind it. Pull it out. Look at the floor and the wall behind it. If you see a trail, that is your primary placement zone. Additional locations include the gap between the dishwasher and the cabinet beside it, the inside corners of lower cabinets, and any crack where the baseboard meets the floor near a water source. The third mistake is wrong concentration. People assume more boric acid means faster results. At concentrations above 2%, ants taste the bitterness and refuse to feed. The bait fails completely. 1 teaspoon per cup of water. That is the ratio that works. The research confirmed it at 1.6%. Do not adjust it. This is the mistake that makes people conclude boric acid does not work. It works. The concentration was wrong. There is a fourth mistake that ties all three together. Impatience. People set bait on Monday, see ants on Wednesday, and spray on Thursday. The entire system requires 14 days to complete. You have to let the cascade run. The colony elimination you are waiting for is already happening beneath the surface. Trust the mechanism. Leave the spray under the sink. Outdoor colony fix indoor ant control only solves half the problem. The colony is outside. Foragers travel from a nest in your yard, under your foundation, inside a tree root, or beneath a patio slab. You can eliminate every forager in your kitchen, and the queen will send 10,000 more within a week. You have to treat the source. Most people never do this step. They get the kitchen clean, stop the treatment, and within 10 days, the trail is back. The colony was never touched. The queen was never affected. All you eliminated was 1 generation of foragers. The nest produced replacements overnight. Take the same boric acid solution and soak additional cotton balls. Place them in shallow lids along the exterior foundation of your house, near any visible ant trails in the yard, and within 2 feet of any ant mound you can locate. For fire ants or carpenter ants with large visible mounds, mix the same solution into a shallow dish and press it into the ground near the mound entrance. Do not disturb the mound. Disturbed colonies split and relocate. Let the bait do the work. Treat both indoor and outdoor stations simultaneously for the first 2 weeks. The colony has one food supply chain. Poison both ends of it. Finding the outdoor nest location takes patience. Ants do not always build visible mounds. Pavement ants nest under concrete slabs, sidewalks, and driveways. Carpenter ants nest inside wood, including fence posts, deck boards, and tree stumps within 20 feet of your house. Odorous house ants, the small black ants most common in American kitchens, nest in soil under stones, mulch, and leaf piles against the foundation. Walk your perimeter on a warm afternoon when foragers are most active. Look for trails moving along the foundation wall. Follow them. They will lead you back to the entry point and from there to the nest zone. Once you locate the general nest area, place 3 to 4 bait stations within a 2-foot radius. Do not place them directly on top of the nest. You want foragers to find the bait on their natural travel path and carry it inside voluntarily. Forcing contact does not work. Voluntary feeding followed by colony transfer is the only mechanism that reaches the queen. The queen never forages. She relies entirely on workers bringing food to her. Your bait station is the only delivery system that reaches her. Every outdoor forager that feeds at your station is carrying a lethal dose directly to the reproductive center of the colony. That is the part no spray on the market can replicate. Here is what this costs. Harris boric acid powder runs $7 and makes roughly 30 batches. Sugar and cotton balls add another $2. Total first season cost is under $10. Each individual batch costs less than $2. Orkin charges between $80 and $120 per visit. A standard annual ant control contract runs $300 to $400. Over 5 years, that is $1,500 to $2,000. Your 5-year cost for boric acid bait is roughly $30 in materials. That is the number they buried in your kitchen cabinet. The same cascade mechanism, the same colony elimination result, $2 versus $400 per year. The difference is not the chemistry. The difference is who holds the knowledge. That is the complete system. Find the trail. Place the bait directly on it. Do not spray. Replace every 5 to 7 days. Treat outside simultaneously. Give it 14 days. The colony that has been living in your walls for months will be gone before your next grocery run. Drop a comment and tell me how long you have been dealing with ants and what you have tried so far. I read every one, and the answers are always more expensive than people expect. If you know somebody who just signed an Orkin contract or is about to, send them this video. It might save them $400 and 6 months of frustration. There are more videos on this channel that go deeper into specific pests. Stick around and watch the next one.